from external hell to personal heaven, inside heaven. So I want to share with you about why actually New Zealand for me, after all what I've experienced in the previous video probably seen, is actually a heaven. I've been through a lot of hardships in New Zealand. If it's through accommodation, and if it's through difficulties to find community or friends, or having a relationship, at least for the first few years in New Zealand, it was quite a struggle to come as a single man to New Zealand and create a long-term relationship, something that I never expected to have issue with, that I didn't have issues in Israel or other countries to find a relationship. But also, as you can see last year with the employment, all these struggles in the main areas in my life actually happened here. So of course it looks like a hell, and especially last year it was like too many circumstances that it was like really felt like a personal hell and external hell as well for people who kind of think differently. I don't feel that anymore. I feel this is a heaven for me, and I explain you why is that. So let's start from the first years in New Zealand. So I had a relationship back in Israel that didn't work for me, but I also believe that when I come to New Zealand it will be easy for me to find a relationship, because I was working really hard in this area. I was in Israel, I was in a community of men that develop and grow their personal skills, confidence, communication to be attractive men. I work really hard, and I got really good results in Israel with relationships. At least I thought. When I came to New Zealand, all this attractiveness that I built didn't work. So whatever I know, how I behave, how I look like, for some reason it's not attractive for the local women here. And for many years, at least in the beginning, I thought it's something wrong with me. That how is it possible that I always had good success and was happy in my relationships, but when I came here, like nothing of that is happening. Even like I couldn't get first dates, you know. I was blaming myself that something in me is wrong or not enough to have a relationship, and I didn't figure out what, because I thought I was smart, really good looking, healthy, eating the right foods, not smoking or drinking, like, you know, I was quite confident in myself, but something didn't work. And that kind of influenced on my self-esteem quite a bit. And then you have the accommodation struggle, that you kind of come in here and see how much you need to sacrifice in order to have a house. So in order to have a house, if you're like a middle class earner, so your house availability dependent if you go to work 40 hours a week or whatever it is and pay the mortgage. So for me, going to work that I might be bored after a year or two, it was hard for me. Of course I want the house, but I don't want to have the obligation of work or be dependent too much on other employers. And as you saw last year, let's say if I would buy a house and then they will force me to have this medical procedure that I'm not agreeing to do. So what do I need to do? I need to sell my house, and how do I repay the mortgage? So that could put me in a really dangerous position. And a lot of people actually gave up because they wanted to keep the house. But I decided, no, I'm not going to give up, no. So that was another step of kind of challenge. Of course, this challenge could be in other places as well, but this is another challenge. And also, like, you know, cultural challenge, like, you know, you kind of recognize you love your culture, you like how you behave and who you are, but it's not the most accepted way that it's run here. So that's another kind of struggle. And also regards housing, when you go to Ukraine, for example, I was so enjoying the abundance of accommodation and apartments and houses and land for prices that you can pay cash for them, you know? The war began. And that's why I'm grateful for New Zealand, that I can come back to and not to be under war. New Zealand for me became actually a base to self-development, healing and growth, because New Zealand actually showed me all the sides in me that are weak, that I actually need to change somehow or to do something else. So if it's like in the relationships, New Zealand taught me and gave me the opportunity to learn that I don't need to have a relationship to be happy. Because even when I got the relationship, eventually, I wasn't really happy. So that kind of gave me the both sides. And at the moment, because I did important work, I'm way happier than I used to be. And my relationship is functioning way better than it was before, because I made the changes and New Zealand showed me these kind of issues. If it's regards employment, yes, I got fired last year from my employment. So yes, I loved my work, but I gained really important experience, and eventually I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to learn and know how to operate differently regards money. Because the way that I was operating before, being an employee, doesn't suit me. Or I get into bored from the work after 1 year, or because I don't like to have the schedule of 40 hours a week and my freedom restricted. This is a huge price to pay. For some people it's fine, but not for me. So New Zealand allowed me to discover that, to be in that place that, okay, now you don't have a choice. You can't come back to your comfortable work in the hospital because you not meet the criteria of flow of the magic potion in your veins. So that means you can't go to work in the previous jobs you had. So what I have now, I have my own practice and business and focusing more on that, even though maybe the pay a bit less, but I'm a lot more free to do things that I really love. And also the way I work, it's on my own terms, which is massive. Therefore my health improved a lot, way less stress, way more happiness, because you live in according to your rules on life. It's a massive advantage. And also because of the war in Ukraine, here I'm feeling safe, at least physically. And also I have time to work on my belief systems and different way of operation in this world, because the previous way of operation, I acknowledge it doesn't give me the results I really want. So I'm really happy that I have this free time to work on myself, improve myself, and eventually have the best life that I want for myself and my partner. finally this year I don't need to rush to work. I have the freedom to do the work that I really want in the mornings or the evenings. I'm not under stress. I don't need to achieve the visa or achieve the money for the house or pay the bills or whatever. I don't need to worry about that. That's a massive advancements in the quality of life. It's amazing. I don't know if I could get the same thing in Israel. Maybe there is other country that I could get even more, of course. But I don't want to rush anywhere, because my plan of to retire young at the moment is on hold, because there is massive changes happening in the world. So early retirement, because for me always I didn't make any sense for me to retire at the age 65. None. It's not something that I see is relevant to my vision of this life in this body, you know. So I wanted to retire already this year. Of course, because of circumstances in life that are not in my control, I'm not retiring anymore, because that was the option in Ukraine, but I couldn't do it. So as long as I don't know what's next, and I'm happy and comfortable being in a situation that I don't know, I'm doing this self-work, and I have the time to do the self-work, to realize what is true and what's not. And it's working for me. I feel way better. So that's why I'm so grateful that New Zealand provides me this opportunity, this reflection to work on my weaknesses, to be a stronger and better person, or even come back to who I really am. Not better person, like, you know, to remove the shells. So that's why at the moment, or at least the last month or so, I feel that I'm in heaven, because I took the decision to create for myself a personal heaven, instead of rely on external hell, which actually was external hell in November, that I couldn't, that society and people around me didn't accept me, and I couldn't get services, I couldn't get to work, or this was actually felt really bad. But I need to focus on the inside. What can I change and do in my life that is actually according to my rules, and to be happy by what I can do and not what is happening outside of me. So if I was, for example, in another country and felt it's very easy for me to have relationships, I would never heal the voids that I have in my soul or my mental side, and we're always dependent on relationship to be happy. But not anymore, because New Zealand showed me that all the work you did to be an attractive man doesn't work here, and all the work that you did to be a professional employee already doesn't work here, doesn't suit you. So you need to be a business person and create and learn new ways of making a living, and also you need to make a new ways of how to operate in society that you'll be more happier and fulfilled. So that's why I'm in New Zealand, from choice, to create my internal heaven, that whatever is happening outside of this heaven, it's irrelevant. So this is the choice that I took, and for me at the moment New Zealand is heaven from choice.